Hi there, and welcome to the April edition of Sabre Warrior newsletter. I figured I'd go with a alternative messaging this month instead of just something to have a read. We've got some video content as well, and Adam and I have had some very good conversations going over the last 3 to 4 weeks, all Sabre Warrior related, of course, and we've managed to meet with some inspiring people and hear their story and essentially create further alignment with Sabre Warrior and organisations and relationships out there that are going to do some good for our veteran and first responder community. You may have noticed as well on, I think it was the second week of the month, a little road trip to the RAF Museum. We was invited by the Office of Veterans Affairs Minister Johnny Mercer to attend essentially a presentation for the release of their new initiative, which is Op Prosper. We was then also fortunate to grab 5 minutes with him with a follow-up conversation as well, and give him some, you know, some information about what we do, who we want to serve, and ask government for their assistance in doing so. And we was humbled to be in that conversation and have that opportunity, but even more excited by the fact that he said yes, and he's going to set up some meetings for us to explore where we can fit in to help on a wider scale. So that's a little bit of exciting news for this month. We've also been through a good long period of test and adjust with our online shop. Hambleside Merchandise have done a fantastic job putting the site together, and we are now in a position where we're ready to give out the URL, the link to our shop. And this is essentially one of the first things that Adam and I thought of on how we can generate a socially acceptable income for Sabre Warrior to fund future cohorts. A good percentage of each purchase will go straight towards funding a cohort. So for every t-shirt you buy, you're doing your bit for the veteran and first responder community. So thank you in advance. But it doesn't just stop there. The shop element and the store element on our website, we will have additional arms and additional elements to that. So it's starting with clothing, branded merchandise, but it will also reach out to other items, and more information to come on that at a later stage. One of the big topics that's come out this month between Adam and I, and also in the conversations that we've been having with the US team as well, particularly Joe Robb, who I just want to thank him right now here again for his efforts, for what he's doing for the US community, but also the time that he's making available to us to help coach us and offer insight into what is 12 years of operation of Sabre Warrior in the US. Without his help, we would be making the progress, but much slower. So thanks, Joe. You're a good guy, and a blessing to be in your sphere, mate. And the conversations that Adam and I are having with him, it's uncovering, another a big element of what we do. It's called moral injury. I don't think it's something that is really being looked at or acknowledged here in the UK very well. And he gave me a quote, which is why I'm turning the page here. It's the betrayal of what's right by a legitimate organisation. So the betrayal of what's right by a legitimate organisation. What does that mean? It's something that me as a person, as an individual, gets instructed or ordered to do something which goes against my moral fibre or my moral code, but the organisation I'm in at the time, it's perfectly legal and it's okay to do. Or I have to not help someone that I want to help because the mission took us in a different direction. So this is something that affects a lot of people in their everyday life. I know that. And it's those moments in the night for years afterwards, laying up at the ceiling, wishing that something had gone differently. And that there is, moral injury in a nutshell. There's probably a bigger, better, more medical term of explanation, but story and what happened. What happened is we got told to do something that went against our moral code. We did it, followed orders, and we've got to live with the consequence. We've also had a very good meeting and in-person meet for the first time I've met Andrew Wilkes from Discover Financial Services. Travelled up to Farnborough to have a sit down and have a good conversation. We had shared some good chat. There's a video, and it's all very well documented. We brought a professional photographer on board to document the meeting because it means that much to us. And our thanks go to James Hellier for recording that as well. But the meeting with Andrew is our way of documenting their generosity in funding cohort 1, okay, in full. Thank you. But it's also our way of putting a very clear flag up saying that, we are not just going to accept a donation and then just carry on with the work. We're going to make sure that there's some form of formal partnership thereafter and keep that conversation going for the benefit of the community that we serve, but also turning back and looking at the organisation and how we can help the veteran and first responder community within their organisation if they have them. So there's a double win. There's probably a triple win if I can think about it really hard, but there's definitely a double win. The veteran and first responder community within Discover have now got, if required, instant access to help through Save a Warrior. And that's a good feeling to have, to know that we've gone and provided that arm. And Discover Financial Services has been aligned with Save a Warrior US for some time. And it's through their internal communications that they became aware of us and they reached out and sent us a message. So, thank you for that. And we've got a page on our website, a collaborations page. If you're reading this or listening to this, if you know an organisation is looking to align with an organisation like ours, then put us in touch. Let's start a conversation and do some good for our community, your community, wherever you're coming from and reading this from. The next edition of this will be coming quite soon. I appreciate this is a little late in the month for this month's edition, but I want you to keep your eye out for the next one, because this is where Adam and I are going to have a good conversation about moral injury and really start to turn the light on to this element of trauma. It's not being spoken about enough. Everyone knows, well, there's a traumatic event, a car crash, for example. That's traumatic. That's an event that causes flashbacks, nightmares, etc., etc. We also know that prolonged exposure to deployments or being on the beat for a long period of your life causes this lasagna effect and packing down of these traumatic events that become normalized, which at the time don't do any harm. Maybe there's coping mechanisms to deal with it, drink or drugs or whatever, but it's afterwards when that compression starts to expand and all of these stuffed feelings and emotions start coming out. These are things that are quite well known and documented and advertised and spoke about in the media. The moral injury aspect is not so. So watch this space. Next newsletter, Adam and I are going to have a chinwag about this and shed a bit of light on it. We're also looking to release a Save a Warrior podcast where we can have these two-way conversations with leaders in this field, and in doing so hopefully lubricate the conversation for an individual out there that needs the help that didn't know about us. So that's one element of it. So If you like a podcast, keep your eye out for the Saw podcast, and we'll be rolling out over the airwaves. I'm hoping fairly soon with that. So, be well, look after yourself, look after your friends, look after your family. All right, a life in service of others is a beautiful thing, and be present and get in touch with us, both Adam and I, if you want to have a chat. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.